Hey everyone. So the question is, what is the proper putting stance? Now it's really tricky when talking about disc golf throwing technique with putting because there's so much variety and different techniques and styles. And when you look at the guys on tour, you say, wow, there's so many different ways that work. Maybe there's not a right or a wrong way to do it. Now I want to argue that point and say that is incorrect. So the first thing you need to understand, and you have to wrap your head around this idea, that you can become a very good putter with improper or incorrect technique. If you have some coordination, some basic talent, and then you do something 2 to 4 million times, and that's the numbers we're talking about over a period of not that many years, you're probably going to become really good at it. So the mere fact that you don't have a job and you're out on tour and you're committed and obsessed with the game of disc golf, probably going to be a good putter no matter what you do if you play at this level. So let's forget about that. Let's talk about at the average pro to intermediate all the way down to recreational level, there are some right and wrong ways to putt. I believe this. So we're going to isolate the putting stance. So the question is, what's the correct stance? And it was also asked, how are you going to generate the power? So here's what you do. The first thing you have to remember when you putt, you always want to putt from your center. Now I always use the darts analogy, the ultimate game of aiming. It's so obvious that this is correct. Trying to putt out or throw a dart from out to the side, it's impossible. It's not impossible, but it's far harder. So the first thing you have to understand, no matter how you putt, whether it be a push putt or a spin putt, you're going to want to putt from your center. And putting from your center is what's going to dictate your stance. Now, I'm going to take the two extremes that are incorrect and then show you the correct one. So the first incorrect way to putt from your center would be a straddle putt. Now, obviously you do this when you have an obstacle and you need to get around it. But when you're putting with a straddle putt, whether it be a push putt or a spin putt, and let me just clarify, a push putt is a putt where the shoulder is the major hinge. A spin putt is the elbow or the elbow and the wrist are the major hinge. Either way, when you putt with a straddle putt, you are not able to use your legs. The only momentum you can generate or force you can generate is up, which might give you a little bit of a burst, but since you cannot fall forward, since you must establish balance after you putt, you don't want to be in a stance that does not allow you to push off with your legs. So straddle putt, always a situational putt. Now, the other extreme, and this is a much more common mistake, is to line your putt up. I gotta step back and I'll talk louder, but I want you to be able to see my feet, is to line your feet up with the target. Now, the reason you don't want to line your feet at the target is twofold. The first is, when your feet are on line, you actually have pretty poor balance. If someone walked up to you right now with your feet on a line and they just touch your shoulder, you're gonna fall over, right? So you don't have good balance to begin with. You may be able to get away with that a little bit, not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that when your feet are in line and you putt from your center is here, right? Feet in line, center's here. Well, if I turn sideways, as you can see, when I putt from right here, I'm having to accelerate in a very short distance, here to here. If this was ball golf, they would call it jabbing, I believe. So I call it jabbing in putting, which means if you're here and you're trying to generate force to here, you're having to really exert yourself to get up there. You're not allowing the momentum of the disc to generate the speed. So if you were doing a push putt, for example, you would want your arm to be able to swing down. Now, if your feet are in line and your arm and your pendulum swings down, you're no longer putting from your center because your center, you have to jab it. So what you want to do is you want to compromise, you want to go in the middle. It's real simple. Stand casually, feet shoulder width apart, and then simply step straight back. Now, I've done a million private lessons. 8 out of 10 times when I tell a player to step straight back, the first thing they do is they step back and they put their feet in line. So you have to be conscious of this and always be aware of whether or not you're doing this. But if you don't do this, you step straight back, your feet remain shoulder width apart. Now, with your feet shoulder width apart, your center is going past your front leg, allowing your arm to swing, which by the way, can be to your center / back leg, or it can even be down. I'm fine with being down here. I would rather have too much swing than not enough. But if you're down here with your feet shoulder width apart, not in a straddle putt, now you can push off with your back leg and you can generate some momentum while still retaining the balance and not doing a falling putt. So that's it. Shoulder width apart, straight back, with the goal being putting from your center, allowing yourself to be able to use your legs to generate momentum on the disc.